Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day, and it is time for another episode of EP Live. I know they've been coming at you fast and furious over the last few days. It's just been the way that things have worked out. Awesome people have been coming to Vancouver, and we've got somebody else that's awesome on the show today, and I can't wait to tell you all about her and to get into our conversation. Her name is Tricia Gray, and boy, has she got a story to tell. She's worked in tons of video game companies and on lots and lots of video games. She even worked on a video game TV show back in the day. But first, before we get into our conversation with Tricia Gray, is the glass contest over, Blake? Yeah. Glass contest is over. But stay tuned. We'll have other contests, and you can go to facebook.com/electricplayground and like that sucker, and then stay tuned for other contests that we'll have, okay? We've got to get going with your rundown, and this one is dedicated to Graham Coombe, who says, Vic, that was the best interview I've watched in a long time. Sam is such a fascinating person to listen to, and you are a great interviewer. Thank you, Graham. That is a very sweet thing to say. I had an incredible time with Sam yesterday, and if you haven't watched that interview, please do. We had lots to talk about with lots of things. But let's get started with your rundown. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate already has more than 100 stages, and soon you'll be able to add more of your own. It looks like a stage builder mode is coming to the crossover brawler. No official announcements have been made, but a new commercial for the game released by Nintendo features a brief glimpse of the unannounced stage builder mode, which has been rumored to be on the way for months. In the previous two games, Stage Builder lets players create their own stages using pre-made assets, sort of like a watered-down version of Super Mario Maker. That game, incidentally, is getting a sequel this year, so don't be surprised if stage mode hits Smash in the near future. This is awesome. I think that this is always a very fun thing for Nintendo to do, is put the creativity back in the hands of players and let them sort of express themselves and then share that content with other players out there and get a taste of game development and game design, at a sort of this most simplistic kind of stage, but then that gives people a little taste. It's like creating levels in first-person shooters back in the 90s. A lot of people entered the video game industry just by getting that little taste, and then sharing it and having friends say, that's awesome. And I know that Super Mario Maker is probably leading to lots and lots of game makers out there right now. Now, everyone's favorite Avenger has set his sights on the small screen. A new TV series based on the sharpshooting Hawkeye is on the way. Variety reports that Disney and Marvel are developing the show as a limited-run series for their new Disney Plus streaming service, with Renner in talks to reprise the role. It sounds like he won't be the only Hawkeye, though. Variety also claims that the show will see Renner pass the torch to a new and younger character, Kate Bishop, who in the comics took the Hawkeye mantle in 2005. Along with Hawkeye, other characters like Loki and Scarlet Witch are also getting their own Disney Plus shows. The service launches this fall, and this is a fantastic idea. I like the fact that Jeremy Renner isn't feeling like he's too successful for television or to try this kind of streaming avenue. I think this serialized adaptation of Hawkeye is a fantastic concept, and I loved the way that Hawkeye passed the torch to Kate Bishop in the Matt Fraction comics. Those are amazing. If you ever get a chance to read those, I guarantee you will be very entertained, and that's great fodder for a series, so my thumbs are way up. I'm super excited about this. And, even in the movies, Hawkeye's always questioning how he can kind of stand toe-to-toe with all of these gods, these literal gods, with all of these incredible powers, and he's got a bow and arrow. But still, he holds his own. Looking forward to seeing what Hawkeye and Renner are up to in Avengers Endgame. It's the movie that we do not talk about because we just want to see it. But I'm psyched, and I'm super psyched now that they're making a Hawkeye TV show. That just makes perfect sense. And I want Daredevil to come back, and I'm totally cool with Charlie Cox coming back, so please make that happen. I know that they won't do that. They will recast everybody. Hell has frozen over because PlayStation Network users can finally change their username. Sony has begun rolling out the long requested feature, allowing users to change their on-screen name for the first time since the PSN launch back in 2006. 13 years ago, oh my. Sony says that they've been working on this for years, but they've been working on it for years. They can ship consoles, but they can't allow people to change their username. Incredible. Incredible. Sony says they've been working on this for years, but warned that there will still be a few unexpected glitches. Amazing that this is going to take down the Sony Online function right here. This is amazing. Now, many users have also reported that the feature isn't available yet in their region. Hopefully, Sony gets all the issues worked out soon. I honestly, I can't believe that this is such a difficult thing. What an undertaking that Sony's incredibly intelligent engineers have been able to work on. It's amazing. But congratulations to all of you that named yourself, Pixie Dink 72 or something like that, and you want to change it. Now you can. You don't have to be Pixie Dink anymore. All right? It's a great day. Hooray! After a problematic first year, Rare is hoping the coast is clear for their pirate game, Sea of Thieves. They've announced that the first-year anniversary update will set sail on April 30th. It's billed as the biggest batch of new content yet for the game and includes a new quest line called Tall Tales: Shores of Gold, along with the new PvP arena mode. That will allow 5 teams to compete against each other to find treasure chests hidden throughout an area with plenty of new loot to earn. Rare admits that the launch of Sea of Thieves could have been better, you think, but they've been trying to win back players with new content ever since, and that is the right move. Clearly this move for the video game industry and all of these really, really big companies and corporations with their massive teams to try to create these games as service properties out there to keep people, in their ecosystem and looped into their games playing forever is hard. It's tricky, and it takes a couple of kicks at it to get it right, or it takes a real commitment like No Man's Sky and now Rare, I think, with Sea of Thieves. I haven't gone back to it since I reviewed it, mostly because in the reviewing game, the sea of new games is filled, and it keeps coming. Like new games keep coming in. I just got my code for Days Gone, by the way. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But it just feels like we've got lots and lots of things to keep ourselves occupied with. But I get the obsession and the fascination and the desire to stay with the game. My addiction right now is the Division 2, and I think that has been, for me, the most successful of these games as service kind of enterprises, and I get it. And I am curious, and I do want to go back to Sea of Thieves. Maybe this year anniversary thing is the catalyst. Maybe I will go back just for this. I'd like to hear from you guys, though. If you're still playing Sea of Thieves, tell me why. Tell me what you like about it, and tell me if you've been appreciative of what Rare has been putting into the game over the last year. And I do hope that it's successful, and I do hope that people are having a tremendous amount of fun with it. All right, you guys, that's our rundown for today. Thanks for watching. Now, let's throw it to this day in Everything Cool. Welcome to This Day in Everything Cool for April 10th. On this day in 1912, an unsinkable ship set sail. The RMS Titanic departed the docks in Southampton, England on her maiden voyage to New York City, being the biggest, fastest, and most technologically advanced ship ever built. Registered in Liverpool, the Titanic was also one of the most luxurious ships, with some of the world's richest people booking tickets, while less affluent second and third class passengers were stuffed below decks. With all those eggs in one basket, it's a good thing that the Titanic was equipped with an ingenious new watertight door mechanism, which was designed to keep the ship afloat even if it did something unimaginable like hit an iceberg, which everyone knew was a remote proposition. This means it wasn't a problem that the Titanic didn't have nearly enough lifeboats for everyone on board, because, as the saying went, God himself could not sink this ship. Tune into This Day at Everything Cool on April 14th to find out what happens next. Another big thing from Liverpool struck disaster on April 10, 1970. Paul McCartney publicly announced that he was leaving the Beatles, effectively meaning that the band itself would break up. This followed years of strife, especially between McCartney and fellow Beatles founder John Lennon, with all 4 members of the band privately leaving and coming back at one point or another. This time, when McCartney decided to go public with his departure, that was it, and everyone knew that the Beatles were finished. Given that they were the biggest band in the world, arguably ever, this created a huge controversy, with everyone wanting to know all the gory details of why they really broke up. They never got back together again, and all 4 members went on to have successful solo careers. The movie industry saw a whole new ball of wax on April 10, 1953. The Vincent Price horror movie House of Wax premiered in New York City, becoming the world's first color 3D movie. The way it worked was that there were actually two separate 35mm film prints, one red and one blue, projected onto the screen at the same time, with audiences wearing red and blue glasses that created a stereoscopic 3D effect. This was a huge leap forward in technology at the time, and there weren't very many theaters that could actually show it, but it was still a huge hit, with audiences everywhere rushing to see it. The success of House of Wax kicked off a 3D movie craze that lasted through the 1950s and early 1960s, with countless other movies using the same technology. This kind of 3D saw a resurgence in the 1980s, and in 2009, Titanic director James Cameron introduced the world to a new kind of digital 3D with his blockbuster Avatar. Is this Avatar's launch? Oh, we're back. I was looking at the video. We are live. You know, we do things live. Sometimes we screw up around here. That's the fun of this. But listen, very cool things happen every day, and today the very cool thing is that I'm having a friend visit that I am so excited to see. It's been a little while since we've seen each other, but we've seen each other many, many times over the years because Tricia Gray has worked everywhere, and I am so excited to welcome Tricia Gray to EP Live. Come on up, Tricia. Yay! Can I have a hug?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Good to see you.
So good to see you.
Good to be here.
Amazing. So let's go back in time a little bit, and we did try to find this footage, but we could not find this footage. But you and I met in the first season of Electric Playground, even prior to that, I think 1996.
Yes.
And you were working on a little game
Called Tomb Raider.
That
Yes.
we had no idea what was going to happen
Yeah,
with this game.
nobody did, yeah.
But you were testing it.
Yes, I was a tester there. I started my career off working at Video Game Slams, which was a competitor of yours.
Right.
We were a public access TV show, but the people that worked there were testers at Sega and Sony, and so they got me a job.
That's right.
And then I started working at IDOS as a tester, and I was one of the first testers at the IDOS studio in San Francisco on Tomb Raider.
Right, and that was on Brannan Street or something like that, or
No, this was when it was near the Embarcaderos.
Unreal.
Yeah, like above that Irish bar.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you were like 17 years old or
Yes, I
something.
was
You were so young,
Yes.
and right away I noticed like this is an incredible story that you're already sort of helping to shape these games because the team size at core was not that big.
No.
So you as a tester. And as an avid player, you had a lot of input on how this game was going to turn out.
Yeah, actually the whole entire U.S. team did. Mike Schmidt was the producer at the time.
Love you, Mike, wherever you are.
Mike was awesome, and I know like Frank Hom and like Tom Marks, they all helped pitch in mostly. I was just there to test the bugs, honestly,
Yes,
but
yeah.
we did get lots of input to them. I was just excited to actually play a game with a female lead character.
Yes.
And I was excited to see guys actually play this woman.
Yeah.
And eventually I became the PR manager for Tomb Raider 2.
Yep.
Gary Keith was the original PR manager who oversaw everything. And it was really weird because we would get Valentine's Day cards and chocolates and weird stuff sent to the office for Laura Croft. So it became this.
What, from who? From fans?
From fans, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Insanity.
I think we got something even weirder in the mail, which I won't discuss.
Oh my
but
God.
It got kind of weird at a certain point. But it was very interesting to see that whole culture, and not just culture, but the progression of technology too, from like triangular boobs to like more polygons into the shape. I wrote a whole article once about that on I forget what site it was, but like just like how polygons used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
And how everything's changed and progressed on, and like even look at it now, like Tomb Raider is like
It was photoreal.
yeah, it's like photoreal now. So yeah, and I was there when I remember we had this huge meeting, and Keith Boski and Sutton Trout were like, "We're gonna get Angelina Jolie to play."
I was
Laura
just
Croft."
going to ask that.
Yeah.
You were there when all that was happening.
When all that was going down. Yeah.
Amazing. Were you still there when that first movie came out?
Yeah, I actually wasn't there when the movie came out, but I was there when they were filming the movie.
Yeah.
I went over to launch a little company called Rockstar.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so but let's stay on Tomb Raider here for a second because this is an incredibly unique perspective. Because IDOS wasn't that big either at that time.
Right. They just merged. It was U.S. Gold and Domark.
Yeah.
And they merged to create IDOS.
Yes.
And yeah, Core was a team.
Like 10 people
Yeah,
or 15
over in
people.
England, yeah.
Yeah, we sent an old director on EP out to visit those guys, and he just showed up with a camera and just walked around, and people were like, "Who is this guy?" You know. But we shot some stuff and aired it in the show. But I recognized how small it was. But we were shooting at IDOS all the time, and it was also just a burgeoning new studio, right?
Yeah.
Or a new publishing house at that time.
Yeah, everything was all new and different, and you know, this was the first time I actually worked with the whole entire teams, because before I was at Sony and Sega, I just stuck with the producers and just did bug reports and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, we had like one PR guy, one marketing director, two marketing, you know, women that worked in marketing, and then we also had engineering in with us that were the U.S. based guys, and then our producers, and it was interesting because I didn't realize like there were bigger studios and bigger companies, and like that's how the games industry worked.
Yes.
So it was nice to be a part of that when it was really small.
Well, it's also, you know, it's probably still true to this day. I mean, it's still a very accepting industry, and people are still, you know, very much into kind of networking and getting to know each other. But back then especially, it felt like you could meet anyone.
Oh, you met everybody, yeah.
At every level, and we're all Facebook friends.
Yes.
There's probably like 1,000 of us that have sort of grown up with games, and we're all in touch all the time.
Yeah.
But it must have been astounding to be at the ground level with Tomb Raider and watch it become this global icon.
Yeah, it was, you know, it's kind of like a rich kid, like that grows up in a rich environment, and they don't really understand like the reality somewhere else. Because later on, I went to go work for a smaller publisher where I didn't have big budgets and stuff like that, and people weren't calling me for invites or press releases or anything when I started doing PR and stuff. So in the beginning, you know, one of the things that I did PR-wise was I always like talked to all the you know, there was the big magazine people. Back then it was always about the magazines and TV shows.
Yes.
And then, you know, secondary was the, you know, IGNs and the
websites,
and
the
then there were the
emerging
small ones. But I always made sure that I sent out Tomb Raider copies to all those smaller guys. And those guys ended up becoming like Sam Kennedy and going. Like,
Sam is on next week.
Sam is doing a game now.
I know,
Sam and James. Like
they're on next
it.
week.
Yeah.
I know.
So it's funny how like where people start off on the bottom and work their way.
That's a Drake song,
and
I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I really appreciate me growing up even in this industry. I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And now I'm in my 40s. So.
Well, and you know, you went from Tomb Raider to Rockstar pre Grand Theft.
Well, yeah. So Grand Theft Auto was originally this PC game, and I loved it. And it was this 2D PC game. And Grand Theft Auto 2, which I helped work on PR-wise, it was still going to be 2D, 3D at the time. But
and that was David. What's the guy's name? David. I'm losing it.
No, it's Gary Penn.
What's his name?
No, Sam Hauser.
Where the Hauser brothers ran Rockstar, but David from DMA Design.
DMA, yeah, like it was Gary. I thought it was like Gary Penn, and I keep forgetting David's last name.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and I love those games. Like those PC games are amazing. So I was.
Yep.
So a friend of mine was like, "Hey, why don't you live in New York? And we're starting up this new company, and Take-Two is going to be the parent company for it." And I was like, "Sure." So this was my job interview. I flew out to New York, and I was wearing a suit and everything, and I walk in, and Sam Hauser looks at me, and he asked me a few like professional questions, and then he was like, "Is this all you got?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What's in your suitcase?" And I was like, because I don't know, that I have like street clothes. And then Terry Donovan, who was the marketing director, was like,
Terry,
"Could you just put your street clothes on?"
No way.
Yeah, and I was like, "Okay." So
you're making people feel uncomfortable in your suit.
So then, mind you, I was only 20.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and so I thought I was going to New York to be professional.
Sure, of course.
I watched way too much Felicity and Sex and the City at the time.
Yeah.
So then they took me to some club restaurant like down in the Bowery area.
Yep.
And Sam was like, "All right, this is your real interview. I want 10, you have to give me 10 business cards from people." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Go hustle and get me 10 business cards." And then they all kind of turned and ignored me.
Wow.
So I like got up out of the table, and this would be completely illegal. I mean, it probably was completely illegal back then too, but like, I went and like walked around and hey, can I have your business card? What do you do for a living?
Why
blah,
is
blah,
that
blah.
illegal?
Well, I don't know. Isn't that like a weird job interview?
Oh, yeah. Oh, from there?
Yeah.
I think the Rockstar guys did a lot of illegal things along the way.
They did.
Or not proper HR etiquette
No,
things along
they
the
were
way.
very like very not proper.
Yeah, but I think the industry was sowing its seed roots. What's the phrase? But they were
yeah.
figuring it out, right?
Yeah, and I was young, and I was kind of like go with the flow.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, you're just kind of like, I don't want to do this crap anymore. But I got 20 business cards, and I like threw it on the table, and then we left to go to their apartment back in the day was down on Water Street near the stock exchange and stuff like that. And they just made me play soccer until 6 in the morning when I had to catch my flight back to San Francisco, and then they hired me.
So that's what you would say to anybody trying to get in the video game industry.
Yeah,
right
just
now.
play soccer with Sam Hauser.
That's all you gotta do. So how many people were at Rockstar when you started there?
Oh my gosh! So
I told you this interview was going to be awesome.
Yeah, it
right?
was crazy.
Incredible.
There was, I think, like 7 of us or 8, and that was it.
Was Geronimo there?
Geronimo was there. He was the original producer, and he's the one that got me the job.
No
so
shit.
he was
That's
the one.
awesome.
Oh, can we cuss?
We can cuss a little.
Yes. So he was the one that called me up and was like, "Listen, we got something really crazy going on.
Yeah.
You need to come over and do
Geronimo just left Rockstar after all that time.
All that time.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 was his last baby.
Yeah, it was. I can't believe he last. I mean, I could believe it, and I also can't believe it. He lasted that long, but So I was there, and we had this crazy talented people, and we had like Jung Kwok, who used to be the owner of Rookie Skateboards, which I used to like idolize as a skateboarder, like, all-female skateboard company, and she was our graphics designer.
That's awesome.
And so is Karen Mu, who's over at doing stuff like on Bing and Microsoft, like she's doing like design work for them now. And
well, you do a lot of work with game companies now,
Yes.
and have done for a lot of years.
Yes.
I want to ask about Rockstar's uniqueness.
Yes.
Like, what made that company what it is? Because you could not isolate, based on Smuggler's Run and Grand Theft Auto 2, that they would be the juggernaut that they are today.
You know, Sam is a genius. Like, as much as friction that I had working there, like he was a genius, and he wanted to do everything not about the games industry.
Yes.
And we knew that there were people out there that weren't like these like typical what they call nerds or whatnot. Like it was like Sam was like, everybody plays games. We need to make it cool.
Yeah.
And that's what really excited me about going to work there, because I was like, I'm all about like, our community and like making stuff cool for the community. And we just like took all the boxes that you're supposed to do and threw them away and did the PR, the marketing, like everything like completely different from everybody else. And they did that the same way with design wise, like when they went in to go start designing games and making games with all the other smaller developers that they acquired. They were just like, let's throw away all the boxes and let's just do the things that we want to do in our head. So
that's awesome.
I think that's what's
from the press side. We had lots of access and lots of interviews. Interviewed Geronimo and Dan Hauser and lots of guys that worked there. Jamie King, I think.
Jamie.
Up until Grand Theft Auto 3, and then we never got any access at all ever again.
Yeah.
We called them. We had EP Daily running all over North America. We were in 150 million homes, and I said to the PR person I was dealing with at Rockstar, why don't we make a special episode?
Was it Jeff Castaneda at the time?
I think it was post-Jeff.
Post-Jeff, okay, I got it.
I said, why don't we make a special episode about Rockstar, but we'll visit all your studios and we'll do a little thing on every sort of aspect and what makes everyone a little bit culturally different. And it was like, no thanks. But come to New York and we'll go for lunch.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't want to go for lunch. I can't shoot the lunch. I want to go and see but no, we don't want any of that.
Yeah, I heard Sam just kind of got a little Howard Hughes and like just didn't want to deal with it.
They didn't need it.
And they didn't need it. And in the beginning he really didn't want to deal with the press. Like I remember the first press release I wrote was about his mom being an actress. It was like this non-press release thing. And I know that he didn't really have an affinity to like kind of like play the game, so to speak. Like I remember our second E3, we curtained the perimeter off.
Yes.
So nobody, and I think after that they'd put a chain link fence at one point so nobody could sneak in.
Yep, they didn't want anybody into their booth unless they were invited.
Yeah. And I mean, it got jiggy. Like we did all these photo shoots and we were wearing like Prada and like, God, it was a completely different.
Yeah, everybody outside of games
Yeah.
recognized the cultural significance and value of the art that Rockstar was making and wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, and we would sponsor like underground events like raves and like we had like rappers that we would sponsor like their shows and stuff like that.
That's
and
awesome.
like Kevin Gill did a lot of stuff. We did
Kevin
a lot
Gill,
of and so it was really cool, like coming from like the punk culture that I came from in skateboarding and stuff like that. Like, you know, I was so excited to be working there, but unfortunately I really just didn't like living in New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did you last at Rockstar?
Oh, like 7 months.
Oh, no
It
way.
was just 7 months.
Oh, wow.
It was 7 months, and then I did some stuff for them on a contracting level, and moved back to San Francisco.
Yep.
Got Jeff Castaneda a job there to replace me because I loved
Oh,
him.
you brought Jeff in.
Yeah, because Jeff was working at a small, like I think at ASCII or something like that. And
Yes.
he had like a crazy commute, and I was like, oh, I'll hook you up, dude. Like you should work in New York.
Oh, and he had a long run
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
We're
and-
talking about one of the premier PR people in games for a long time was Jeff Castaneda.
Yeah.
And he went to MTV,
Yeah,
I
he
think,
went to
after.
MTV, yeah.
And now he's at Samsung or something like that. But he had a long run at Rockstar. He
Yeah.
was the Rockstar guy for everybody on the press side.
Right.
And you got him the gig there.
Yeah, I got
That's
him the gig
amazing.
there, yeah.
And so after you leave a company like Rockstar, I imagine the doors are kind of wide open for you, right?
The doors are open, but I went back and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I had a taste for music for a really long time, and at Rockstar I hired Nasty Little Man production PR.
Okay.
And they're the guys that do the Beastie Boys and
Oh,
Rage
wow.
Against the Machine, and so that was like the other thing that, you know, because Sam and Terry were like, we want to do everything out of the box.
Yes. Oh,
I
you had
would-
access to everybody.
Yeah, so we were just like, okay, well, I'm not going to hire your typical Fiola Davis PR, industry team.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get somebody cool like Nasty Little Man. So I hired Nasty Little Man, and I worked with Steve Martin, who's the principal owner over there.
Yeah.
And, like I said, like he does like Arcade Fire and like Nine Inch Nails and
Wow.
Foo Fighters and stuff. So he was our external PR person, but working with him and seeing how he does, I was like, well, maybe I should work in music. Maybe I should do this. And I ended up becoming a journalist
Yep.
after that for Computer Games Magazine.
Oh, wow.
I kind of went back to my roots of like hardcore computer games, and I was their West Coast editor for a little bit. And then that magazine kind of went under.
Yeah. Tough
Like-
times in
like
the magazine
most
business.
magazines
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
And then I started working at oh my god, I don't even remember the name of that company. I'm just totally spaced out.
That's all right.
It's like a tiny little publishing company.
Which one? What did they do?
They did like Big Mother Truckers,
Oh, I don't know that.
right?
Yeah.
And like Ford Racing.
I'm
and-
sure I reviewed Big Mother Truckers, but I don't remember who
Yeah,
made that game.
I don't remember I can't even space on like I know the people that work there, but
Yeah.
it was a really small, like initially they wanted it to be a boutique publishing company, but they ended up doing just like really cheap games, which was cool for me because I came from multi-million-dollar budgets,
Yeah.
and then going to this smaller place where we had no budget for anything, and that's when I started doing more marketing than PR.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had to be really smart about like, okay, well, we don't have any money, so how are we gonna promote this? And part of it was like price point too, because one of the things I brought up with them was like Deer Hunter was one of the best-selling games.
Right. Had no PR,
Had
no
no
marketing.
PR, no marketing, and it was all because of price point.
Yeah.
So then we just kind of switched out and just started doing like super cheap.
I've been saying, I mean, the games industry has closed the door on massive kind of adoption and
Yeah.
people sort of jumping on board because of this price gate.
Yeah.
This $60 minimum price gate is so stupid.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I actually have another anecdotal story about that. Like
Yeah.
when I was working at Cryptic, eventually, like I went over and jumped over to do MMOs, and my passion actually. I really love the community and I really love developers, so I just wanted to work inside a development team.
Yeah.
And I got my chance at Flagship, but this story came after Flagship. I started working at Cryptic, and I remember we were having a hard time about how we were going to price point Champions.
Yeah.
And we were.
Which was a great game.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
And Atari had just acquired Cryptic.
Yep.
And I remember talking to the Atari marketing team, and I was like, listen, people have to pay for their internet service. People have to pay for the box copy and then the subscription thing, and we're no Blizzard. Like,
Yeah.
I think we should just make a good, like what I learned from working with a smaller company, like maybe we should just open the gate and make it cheaper and have people come in, because the more we get, the better it is. And
Totally.
I remember they were like, "Do you have an MBA?"
Yeah.
Like questioning like my college and like my experience, or like, we need to do and I was like, well, if you're gonna do a box, let's just do a really cool collector's edition and just call it a day. But don't let people pay for all these things.
Yes.
It's not,
because they're starting pissed off.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what's happening with looter shooters and
Yes.
like the industry in lots of ways right now.
Yeah.
Like if Anthem came out for free, people would probably be a little bit more forgiving of that game right now.
Yeah, well, people
but
still like to complain.
Yeah, they do.
They do like to
And I'm not suggesting every game should come out for free
Yeah,
either, because
right.
that creates a whole bunch of other sort of scenarios. But I definitely think that full value price point, which is based on antiquated distribution mechanisms
Yes.
and retail establishments and the rent in the stores. Honestly, the store sales would go up if the prices were less.
Yeah.
More people would go in and buy stuff from their stores.
Yeah.
They want foot traffic. They don't,
Yeah.
But definitely digitally, games should be a lot cheaper than that they are.
Yeah,
I've been saying that for years.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird like working with them, because then I said that we should all go digital.
Yeah.
Everything's going digital. I
Yeah.
was like, digital,
So this
digital.
was like 2004.
Yeah, around that time. And people were like, what are you talking about? You don't know anything. Where's your MBA from? I was like, I promise you everything's going
That
digital.
is amazing. So far, for those keeping track at home, and by the way, there's a baby in the house. This is your baby. What's
This
your
is my baby.
What's your baby's?
My big one is Kaya, but she's not
Okay.
making a lot of noise.
She doesn't want to be called a baby anymore.
No,
I'll
but
tell you
she's
that
still my
right.
baby.
Okay.
And then
Baby number
my
one.
little baby
Yes.
is Ragnar.
Hi, Ragnar.
And-
It's not Blake. I know some people at home were thinking maybe Blake was crying about something being out of focus or something, but no, that's Ragnar. Ragnar the baby is here with us, which is awesome. But so far, for those keeping score at home, Tricia worked at IDOS on video games, worked on a video game TV show, worked at Rockstar in video games, did some testing, did some PR, did some marketing, worked at Cryptic, worked as a journalist at Computer Games Magazine,
Yes.
and we're not even into the mid-2000s.
And yeah, I know.
Yes.
And the sad thing is, most of these companies went under, and that's
Yeah.
why I jumped ship.
But
Yeah.
importantly,
Yeah.
you are still very active
Yes.
in video games. You did not leave.
didn't.
And that's true amongst most of us.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
most of the people that I met in the mid-90s, they're still in games.
Yes.
They may be in a different thing or...
I mean, look at Chris Charla.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you guys don't know Chris Charla, he's the coolest.
Yeah.
And he's the director of Xbox ID at Microsoft.
Yes.
A la corporate.
Yep. Used to run Next Gen magazine.
Yeah.
And before that was just a writer and an editor and a fan. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how we've all started. We were all just super fans for all
Yeah.
of this stuff.
I just wanted a lazy job, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, where can I just
Well,
sit?
you were
and,
a
like, do
kid,
lazy
and
job?
that always
Yeah.
blew my mind. Is like, how did you know that you could do this and get paid to get in video games, and you're 17?
Well, it was either that or be a professional skateboarder. That was like my two.
pretty rad.
I couldn't go to college. I couldn't afford it.
Yeah,
Right. Like
yeah.
I left home when I was 15, and I had to work my ass off my whole entire life, and I just couldn't afford to go to school. So I
Yeah.
was just like, well, what can I hustle at? And
That's
I always
awesome.
was really good at playing video games. I was very good at Street Fighter too.
Yes,
Thank
you were. I remember we went to your apartment after one of our IDOS visits, and we played games at
Yeah.
your place, which was great. I brought like there was a cameraman, everybody from EP, we all went and hung out at your place.
Yes.
I'm going to start a new segment within our interviews.
Okay.
And it's going to start with you, because I was thinking about this yesterday. What is the one piece of advice, the best piece of advice, or the best observation about yourself that you can remember, that you would like to share and maybe pass on, that people would learn from?
Oh my God. I don't know. I have no advice for you.
Put you on the spot?
Yeah, that
Did
you
it-
should let me know this before I came here. I didn't think
Well,
about it.
somebody gave you advice that you heeded or you listened to or resonates inside.
This isn't like I had like a couple I'll give you a couple of pieces of advices that people had gave me that I thought was crazy, and I was
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Like this is a horrible piece of advice, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
That's all right.
Someone had told me when you go into a job, you just give them 50%.
When you start at
when
a
you
job.
start at a job.
Yeah.
And that way, when they need you to do like extra work and they whip you, you give them 75% and they think you're amazing. And so then when you do your crunches, you're not really burning yourself out. And I didn't really understand what this guy was talking about until I actually went through a crunch. And I was like, oh my God, this is what this guy is talking about.
Yes.
And it's hard for me to do that actually, because once I'm into something, I just put all of my soul and my guts and my heart into things. And that's why when things don't work out the way I want them, it's almost soul crushing for me.
Yeah.
So I think I should take that advice that someone gave me 25 years ago.
Yes, but I don't know if you want to share that advice.
Well, you asked me. I don't know. You're putting me on the spot.
No, it's.
You know what? Here, I'll give you a piece of advice. Like every time I've had a team, oh my God.
Yeah, we're live in the room.
Every time I've had a team, I've always told them to get back to people immediately.
Right.
You have 12 hours to send that email back, make the call back. I don't care if you don't have the answer. You just get back to them. You say, I'm working on that. I'm researching on that. I don't know. It's okay to say that you don't know. You don't have it. But you need to be really, really reactive and proactive about getting back to people, whether it's people in the community, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a partner from another company. I hate it when people just don't there's silence and there's 2 or 3 days, 4 days go by, and people have to plan their day around.
Yeah.
So just get back to some of these people with just I don't know and I'm working on it, or I'm going to research that. So
that is wonderful advice.
That's my big piece of advice.
I need to take that advice sometimes, but because I get some days I could feel like I could just give up the whole day just replying to emails.
I know,
and I just can't do that. So I know when I sit down at a computer to do it, I'm here for hours.
Just get it on a clip, like a notepad, and clip it and just cut and paste.
Same thing.
I got your email. I'm going to look into this. I'll get back to you soon.
Sue, okay,
yeah.
I like that.
Just the first, and then you could take 2 weeks to get back to them. But just that initial
thing, yes, the receive.
Yes,
that's very good advice.
So that's a nice advice. Don't take the other advice.
All right. Well, let's transition now from being with game companies and game studios and trying to publish titles and get them out there and make money for the company to being middleware or an assistance kind of position, thinking about game engines. What got you going? Was it Unity that
Yeah, it was Unity. So when I was at Flagship, Flagship went under. I don't know if you know this game called Hellgate London.
Yeah.
That was
That was a heartbreak.
A very bad heartbreak, which is a whole nother episode.
Bill Roper.
Yeah.
Shout out to you,
yes,
buddy. He's the best, right?
Yeah. Bill is the best.
Yes.
I love Bill.
Yeah. He ended up running Disney Interactive for a while.
Yeah, and he's
Rest in peace, Disney Interactive.
He's coming back to the United States.
That's great.
He's got some gig now in the United States. But yeah, I worked with Bill and it was awesome. But the company went under, and one of our graphics programmer told me that he was going to move to Copenhagen, and I was like, "What's out in Copenhagen?" And he was like, "Oh, there's this company called Unity," and I was like, "What the hell is Unity?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know." He was like, "I think they make an engine, but they hired me, and I'm going to go over there." So that was kind of in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And then while I was at Cryptic, I ended up, I want to consult. I would just want to work with a bunch of people. So I had a consultant firm, which Cryptic was my first client. And then Brett Seiler, who worked at Unity at the time, got my name through a friend of a friend of a friend, and was like, "Hey, I'm working on this company called Unity." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know. You're in Copenhagen." And he was like, "Yeah, I need a marketing person." So I did contract work for them initially for a couple months, and then I just fell in love with the whole democratizing games.
Yep.
And they were really small in the U.S. at the time. Anytime I brought up Unity to anybody, they're like, "What? Who?
Yeah.
Who's that?"
Yeah.
And so I ended up becoming their communications marketing director.
Amazing. And how much time did you spend in Copenhagen?
I was in Copenhagen all the time. I think maybe 4 or 5 times a year. Yeah.
I haven't been there. That's one of the only cities that I've never gone to.
Unity. You need to get Victor over to Copenhagen.
I really want to go. I heard it's an incredible city.
It's a great scene. There's tons of amazing developers over there, and Unity should send you over there.
I would love to go.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is I work with the school here at VFS and with the students and stuff, and it's either Unity or it's Unreal that they all do all their projects on, and I just how do you do this in 3 months? And they have a lot of support, and there's a lot of documentation, and there's lots of shared information around all this stuff.
Yeah.
Unity used to pitch us, by the way, and it was probably through you. Every time we'd go to GDC every year, the Game Developers Conference.
I would call you guys. I would be like, "Hey, you should come and check us out."
And so we kept doing these interviews, but it's so inside baseball on our TV show. It's like, how do you make games, and the engine about it, but we covered Unity every year when we went to GDC.
It's so funny because I would just pull all of my, like I said, hardly anybody at Unity worked in the games industry, and nobody in the game industry really knew who Unity was.
Yeah.
And so I would just pull all these strings, like all my big friends at Blizzard and like you guys, and I would talk to the IGNs and like just everybody and be like, can you cover what I'm working on? It's going to be really cool, I promise. And people are like, yeah, Trish, we'll do it as a favor. And I think people were just kind of like, all right.
You just never know.
Yeah,
right?
you just never know.
You never know. But it turned out to be massive.
Yeah.
And start something too, right?
Yeah.
And then you also worked at Unreal.
Yeah.
Was that where you courted because of the success?
Yeah, actually, I after I left Unity, I pinged Mark Rain. I was like, hey, I'm not working at Unity anymore.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I was doing contract work for them.
Unbelievable.
And I worked on launching UE4, like helping them launch UE4. And
Wow.
a lot of the stuff that I brought to the table was like how to get to indie developers. Like what, one of the big things I told them was like, you need to be more transparent on your price point. You need to be more, the whole pricing thing really, there's a theme.
And boy, is that like their philosophy now,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Like they are taking that all the way to the bank right now. Everybody's like, yeah, I love Epic.
I love, the funny thing, when I worked at Unity, I loved Unreal so much, that I was like, if I worked at Epic, what would I do? And that's kind of like how I like pushed Unity out marketing wise and like forward facing stuff. Like if I worked at Epic, what would I change about Epic, or what would I do? Because I just loved Tim Sweeney and I thought they were really amazing and I loved their games. And then to actually work with them was a total dream.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, I didn't want to move to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so just did some contract work for them for a little bit.
Right.
And then after that, I moved over to work on a little engine called BitSquid.
Yes.
And these two cute Swedish guys.
One of them is walking Ragnar around the space right now.
And he was the cutest.
Yeah.
So they had an engine called BitSquid, and it was not like any other engine out there. It was really, really like I could say light, the way that they built things. Lua was the scripting language for them.
So what are there games out there that have used BitSquid?
Yeah.
Like what would
Vermintide. Warhammer, Vermintide.
Cool.
That's on BitSquid. But they had gotten acquired by Autodesk, and they became Stingray.
Right.
And I loved.
So when that happened, you left?
Yeah, so when that happened, I worked for them for a little bit through Autodesk, and then I left, and I worked on Unigen, I worked on Coco Studios X, I worked on Sprite Builder, I worked on a portable, so I worked on a bunch of other engines.
So you are helping to spread the gospel of engine technology.
Yes.
That ultimately led you to Amazon, which you worked at on the Lumberyard tech for a long time.
So I did all the marketing for Lumberyard and worked at Amazon. And I was like, this is going to be a great opportunity to work for a corporate company. And I didn't realize how small fries I was. And, I don't have a college degree. I have never written a dissertation. I don't know how the corporate world really works. So it was kind of a shock in my face. Like, most of the stuff that I was doing at Amazon was just arguing with people and writing papers.
Oh, I'd run into you at GDC, and it felt like it was an ill fit.
Yes, it was not a good fit for me.
And they're still trying to, truthfully, everybody knows this in the video game industry. They're trying to find their way as a game company.
I think they did the right thing. Like, if you went to GDC and you saw their booth, it was a smash of, Twitch and AWS stuff. So I think they did the right thing. But the funny thing is they were going to acquire BitSquid.
Oh, wow.
But instead they
bought CryEngine.
Well, they got a license for CryEngine.
Okay.
So they didn't even buy CryEngine.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, that's what Lumberyard was based on. But I was so excited because finally I had $1 million. I kind of was cha-ching in my eyes. What? My budget's going to be over $1 million? I'm going to get my own demo team? I got really greedy.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see, the stuff around it, which was a lot of minutia that I really don't. I'm more of an actions person, so I don't really like to spend weeks and weeks writing and trying to convince people this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a good fit. But during that whole time, I would meet up with Nicholas and Tobias over at Stingray, and I'd get them really drunk, and I'd be like, hey, when are we going to start a company together? And hoping one time they'd be so slosh and drunk, they'll be like, all right, Trish, let's do it. So then one GDC, Tobias looked at me and was like, okay, let's do it. We're going to quit. And I was like, what? And he was like, but we had to bring Nicholas. And I was like, all right, I guess we could bring Nicholas over. But Yeah, and then we started our machinery.
And this is your new endeavor.
Yes.
And this is taking 20 years of experience
Yes.
and all of these different engine sort of background pieces that you've been able to compile.
Exactly.
And now what is our machinery? Are you guys ready to announce your product? Is it out there?
We
or?
are still in an R&D phase, but that
Yeah.
said, we're again, I'm kind of taking all the stuff that I learned at Rockstar, where I just don't want to do the normal dog and pony show with
Yeah.
like the press release and the interview on Gama Sutra. I mean, and all those things are great, and
Yes.
we'll probably need to do them, but we really wanted to be very community based. So we do a lot of stuff through our blogs, and we've got a podcast, and our machinery podcast, that we talk about what we're working on. And like I said earlier, we're still in R&D phase, but we really want to build a tool that's super lightweight,
Yeah.
super modular. So let's say that you're making a VR game, but you don't want to use Unity because it's got all this other stuff attached to it, and you need it to be really quick and light. So
you can get the VR version
yeah,
of
you
our
just
machinery.
get the VR package, and that's it.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then we're
So
also
it's like the Creative Cloud, is that how you're kind of envisioning it?
maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe. Yeah, we haven't really like fully like wrapped our head around like what exactly is this platform/product yet.
Yeah.
We kind of pulled out the engine, and we made it a little game maker too.
Yeah.
So that like anybody can make, like the UI is really simple, and anybody can make it almost like a Roblox-y type
Nice.
thing. So we're just kind of playing around with stuff, and
Looking
we're
at games like Dreams and stuff, and,
Yeah.
and Super Mario Maker, and
Yeah.
thinking this is the next level of
Yes,
that.
yeah.
So anybody that's got any interest, and I imagine it'll be free. Is that the
yeah,
until you go
yeah,
commercial? or?
we don't know what we're gonna do business wise yet. We have an alpha, so if any developer out there wants to be on our alpha, they can certainly join the community. But we're excited about the Stadia stuff actually that
Yeah.
Google's doing,
Yeah.
and we might want to like work with the developer to see and explore like what we can do with that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of sky's the limit, because
Do you want it to scale to like compete with Unreal and IdTech and
I
stuff
don't,
like that?
I don't
or?
think I think there's room for everybody,
Yeah.
honestly. But I think that we want to scale the company. Like
Yeah.
we've been self-funding, like we've been paying like our own cash and all this stuff.
Yep.
And we would like to grow the team a little bit bigger. I know Tobias, our partner in Stockholm, is a little lonely and wants some technical artists over there, so we could start building cool demos and stuff. So
That's cool.
I would love to give him some people to work with.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll introduce you to the VFS.
Oh, that would be great.
The teachers here.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're putting students out into the world all the time that want to
Oh,
be
cool.
technical artists.
Oh, right on,
Some
yeah.
of them are from Sweden and from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They come out over here?
Yeah, VFS has a whole international thing, which is pretty rad.
I love Canada.
It's pretty good here.
Yes.
Yes.
I love you, Canada.
Well, so this is what you're working on now.
Yes.
And we don't really have something to announce yet.
Not yet, yeah.
But stay tuned for our machinery.
But I've given you more scoop than anybody else.
That's awesome. and people can follow along on the podcast.
Yes, we have a podcast, Our Machinery Podcast. You can get it on iTunes or Exploder or whatever situation that you use. And we also have blogs. So if you're really into techie, like getting down dirty deep, like technical stuff, please like read our blogs.
Awesome.
We've had a couple of people actually build little engines off the blogs that we've been writing on, off our philosophies and stuff, from Tobias and Nicholas. So.
Wild. And if people are, and you're looking for people to add to the team, so if people are interested,
Yeah, it's just
Find
it's
them.
ping at ourmachinery.com.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when do you expect we might see the first Our Machinery games, if everything goes?
If everything goes well, maybe by like next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
And you guys internally won't be developing your own titles, or is that part of the plan too?
We might. Like, that's one thing that we're kind of exploring right now. Like, maybe because, I'm really like, I'm kind of a control freak, and I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe we should just do our own game or do our own thing, and
Yeah.
then, like, show everybody the demo and stuff. So.
I suspect that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think you have a passion for the business, clearly, but I feel like it's been a while since you've shipped a thing.
Yeah, it has.
Right?
I really.
And Amazon takes a lot out of you because they have a lot of money over there, but they're not in any rush to ship anything.
No,
it
they're
feels
not.
like.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, they're
Yeah.
not. It did. Yeah, I
And
think.
I've talked to a lot of developers that are like, okay, are we going to ship something? That have made lots of things, and they just want to ship something over there, but it takes forever to ship something.
Yeah, it's a long process working over there.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's the culture.
It's big.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what happens at big companies, I
Yeah.
guess. That's what I learned.
Yeah. Well, Our Machinery, look for that, you guys, and thank you so much
Oh my
for
God,
being
so good
here.
to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, we've got a couple of reviews. Thank you to Trisha Gray. Let's take a look at Johnny and my review of Hellboy.
I'm Johnny Millennium, this is Victor Lucas, and this is Film Fury. And today we saw the brand new reboot, remaster we'll call it, of Hellboy.
Is it just called Hellboy?
It's just called Hellboy.
Okay, they started from Hellboy again.
Yeah, and the original movie came out in 2004.
Yep.
And let's talk about that for a second. Did you like that movie?
I love those movies.
Absolutely.
Guillermo del Toro is a genius, and I thought Ron Perlman was fantastic as Hellboy. And I thought that this movie was going to be terrible, and I didn't like the trailers at all. And so I was expecting an abomination, and I'm quite happy to report that I really, really, really like this movie.
Oh my God,
Yes.
we are going to.
I could tell from your body language that you were not enjoying yourself.
No, because, okay, here, we have to start off this.
Yes.
Ron Perlman was fine as Hellboy.
Yes, he was.
He was fine. I don't understand why they had to reboot this, why they had to replace him. David Harbour is good.
He's great.
I like him as an actor in general,
Yes.
so I have no problem with him.
Yes.
But why did we need to reboot this? Why did we need to? Ron Perlman's still there.
Because they
ready
didn't want to
go.
connect it to the Guillermo del Toro fiction. They wanted to create a new trilogy or, the opportunity for a new franchise. Harbour's a little bit younger than Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman is not an old man by any stretch. He is older, though.
Yeah.
And he did have 2 good kicks at it, and I think they worked for more than a decade to make a sequel. But here's the truth of it. Guillermo del Toro and Ron Perlman don't own Hellboy. Just like, Ben Affleck doesn't
course
own
they
Batman
don't.
and
Of course they
Christian
don't.
Bale doesn't own Batman. This is a really cool character. Mike Mignola created an amazing franchise, an amazing universe, and truthfully, because he's been converted into 3 movies now, Mike Mignola doesn't really own Hellboy anymore.
Yeah, I
There's a
understand.
much bigger universe
I
out
understand that. My problem is not with David Harbour, so
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
there. Yeah.
This movie was so all over the place. They put
It's
so much
very
into
cluttered,
it.
yes.
Yeah, there's some bits that are kind of cool,
Yeah.
and there's some bits that are really terrible. Some CG that is really good, and some CG that is really terrible.
I think what they've done, though, yes, there's a ton of CG and you are fully aware of the effects, but there's also a tremendous amount of puppet work and incredible makeup work.
Sure.
And I think it's blended in a very, very artistic way. And one thing that is absolutely different from this film, from the Guillermo del Toro movies, is that the action is fast and furious, no pun intended. It's just nonstop all the way through.
And that's a little bit my problem. There's just way too much stuff going on.
But
There's way too. There's just stuff shoved in your face all of the time.
We're in a post-Avengers, post-Zack Snyder
I get it.
superhero
I get
movie
it.
world now.
It's a fun movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But there's just too much stuff going on that I just didn't really buy any of it. And let me just say, right from the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
and we're not going to say what happens.
Yeah.
There's an evil shown, and I'm like, okay, this is evil that they're going to bring back at the end, and
Yeah.
Hellboy will stop it.
Well,
and it's like, so I know what the story is right there.
Yeah.
And then they just stuff right in your face, like so much.
It is.
Going
It
on
is an
here.
exhausting
It's
movie,
exhausting,
and
yeah.
I agree. And I could feel like the other critics, and we saw a critic screening, so it wasn't filled with an audience. We have no way to kind of register how an audience would take this movie.
Right.
But I could tell the other critics were all feeling like, okay, what's happening?
What is going
it's
on?
insanity.
At times.
Yes, I've read some of the Hellboy books.
Oh, that's cool. I never have.
I read them, and they are packed with imagery, and there's lots of stuff in the corners, and it's a horror show just as much as it's a comedy
It's about
and a
the
superhero
occult,
and a
absolutely,
cult.
yeah.
And this movie really does convey that, and I know
It
that
does,
it's
it
going to be
does.
overwhelming for a lot of people. And I don't purport to be a Hellboy fanatic,
Yeah.
but I've read some of the graphic novels, and I've interviewed Mike Mignola, and I love the previous Hellboy movies. I think even Guillermo del Toro is going to be a fan of this rendering.
Yeah,
because
no, he's not going to be offended by it. You know what I
Well,
mean? It's not going to take away from his movies.
And it honors the source quite well, even if it deviates from the incredible work that was done before. But I'll tell you what, this would not work if David Harbour wasn't at the center of it, because
Sure.
he is so funny. Like, everything he said made me laugh. It's like every
he
time
was
he
laughing.
said,
I wasn't laughing.
I know you weren't.
I wasn't. I honestly, you're laughing, and I'm like, man, I'm missing this movie.
We
And
have-
I kind of felt like
Yeah.
this movie was just flying past me,
Sure.
and I wasn't on it for the ride.
Yeah.
And they just kind of left me by the side, and I
I
was like,
understand.
I want to go and I want to enjoy this. Like, there's absolutely ridiculous things, but there is stupid stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta say,
Well-
when he's fighting those trolls, that was the stupidest fight.
What,
of
the
all time.
Giants?
The Giants.
I love that scene. I
No,
thought it was
that was
amazing.
so silly.
It kind of
No,
reminded
but
me of stuff like Time Bandits, because it looked like
sure.
this mix of, or the Dark Crystal looked like this mix of puppetry and CG, and I just thought they fully committed to it, and it was
Yeah.
insanity. And I loved that so much of the
Yeah, but
action
but
takes place in
the
England.
The fight sequence is so stupid, though. He's just getting a sword, swinging it around, and they're just walking into it. That's my problem.
I thought that was amazing.
No,
How
I didn't think that was that
many
good.
fights have we seen on screen with giants and a little demon carrying a giant sword? There's a lot of imagery
there's a lot of
in here.
Lords of the Rings and
I
types
thought
of stuff
that
in
was
here.
cool.
There's a lot of movies in here.
The only thing that I would have changed about this, and it's not because she did a bad job, is Mila Jovovich plays the big bad in
Whenever
this.
she shows up in any movie, it takes it down a notch
Well,
these days. After the Resident Evil movies, that's what we think.
She's done so many of these kind of genre pictures, these kind of B-movie, action movie type things. It's such low-hanging fruit to say, well, let's put Mila Jovovich in there because fans of this action, gore, horror stuff are going to know her. I think that's just a little too safe.
Casting.
Well, it's a missed opportunity because they could have given this to somebody because it's a good performance and it's a very cool role. She's a demonic creature that has a tremendous amount of power and she relishes it and she hams it up on screen. She does a good job. I'm not saying that, but they had an opportunity to cast somebody amazing that could run away with it and be the equal to David Harbour.
And that's the problem. Yeah,
which they didn't really.
She's a weak villain.
Weak choice.
Yeah.
Weak choice. I think she's an excellent villain, but a weak choice in the casting because it's too predictable.
I think the idea of the villain and how she's taken down
and
spread around the world, we won't say anything more.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like the history here.
Yes.
I like the world
the
building.
Mythology, it's great.
The mythology is great.
Yes.
But it's just too much silly crap going on that I want to buy it, but I can't.
No, I hear you, brother. It's like you got to fully commit to the movie, just like the filmmakers committed to all these little tangential things. Like let's go off on this adventure. It's almost like Aquaman in a way.
And you know what? I was thinking
stuffed.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Aquaman, for some reason, worked with absolutely over the top, so many things going on.
You know
and
why?
It pulled it off because it was so silly, but it works.
You know why, though?
Why?
James Wan was crafting a universe that we hadn't seen on cinema before.
Right.
But you had seen Hellboy before, and you probably liked those first two movies.
I didn't. I'd forgotten all about them when I watched this.
But you had some familiarity, and so you're going in, and I think that's the biggest challenge that the filmmakers. And it wasn't that long ago, so I think there's going to be a lot of diehard fans for the previous Hellboy movies that are going to have a very tough time separating themselves from what they already understand before they go into this movie.
The character and all that. So,
but I can tell you, I was able to, and I freaking love David Harbour.
I'm jealous, and I think for a lot of Hellboy fans, they're going to find a lot to enjoy in this movie.
Lots of little secrets.
I'm not saying that, but this movie overall is silly. Like, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
When there's a father, kind of
Ian McShane,
an apparition going on, we'll say. That was so bad. I was sitting there going, I can't believe I'm watching this. It's so dumb.
What, the little baby?
No, there's an apparition at one point. Do you remember?
Oh, okay.
Near the ending.
Okay.
And there's a certain kind of speech. I was like, oh my god.
I like that they like Daniel Day Kim from Lost is in this thing.
He's fine.
He's okay, and I like the other
the
Alice.
Yeah.
There's some cheeseball effects, but
there is.
You know what?
There's a lot of cheeseball effects.
But the movie is packed with
visual,
enjoyable visual elements and lots of it's not scary, but it's gruesome.
There's a lot of blood and guts. Thanks for mentioning that.
And it's got it's definitely an R-rated picture, but it's loaded with visual stimulation, which I think can be tiresome. But I dug it. I still liked the artistic endeavor that they put into this.
I just felt like they shoved so much in just to
Yeah.
see what stuck,
Right.
and what didn't.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
I think some bits are really good, and then the next two bits are bad. And
Yeah.
one bit that's kind of neat, and I just wish they took their time a little bit more, held back.
Yeah, it breaks my heart you didn't dig this. I really liked it. And
I never want to see this
I
again.
know you could tell I liked it, and I could tell that you didn't like it.
I'm scoring like, this is me. I'm like, and there's Vic laughing, and I was like, why? I'm not laughing. Why am I not laughing?
I think you can hang it clearly on two things. I wasn't expecting to. I thought it was going to be trash.
So did I.
And I legit love David Harbour. I think that guy is phenomenal.
From Stranger Things, he's amazing.
Well,
so
he's
like
just
him as well.
so funny. He's got such great deadpan delivery throughout all of this. And so absurd. All of it is just so insane.
It's so absurd. It's very hard to take.
And then in the center is this perfect guy, this kind of Han Solo-esque kind of delivery on all of this.
Yeah.
I really freaking love this movie. I thought it was great. And because it's so stuffed, I think it's just like Aquaman going to be one of those pictures that you see again and again, and you get little details out of. You probably won't.
I will not watch Aquaman again, and I will not watch Hellboy again. This one.
What are you going to give Hellboy?
This is a tough one because there's a lot of stuff that does work, but overall the picture, it doesn't really work that well for me.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I'll give it like a 6.5.
I really like this. 8.5 for me,
What?
and I'm as shocked as you are. Yeah, it's nice to get in a little back and forth with Johnny Millennium every once in a while. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a lot of movie, just like Aquaman was. Absolutely. Listen, we've got more reviews for you, but right now we've got another buried treasure. I don't know if this is true, but this may be my first Atari Jaguar buried treasure. This is from Ian Mutu. He's suggesting that we talk about Tempest 2000, the Jeff Minter classic, which came out for the Jaguar. And when I put it into my Jaguar, it never came out of my Jaguar. It's a classic game, and of course it lifts on the 80s arcade game, which is also incredible. I recently got that little tiny game from Replicade, the tiny arcade machine version of Tempest, and I love it. Love playing the classic, but Tempest 2000 was something more. It was Tempest as reimagined by a rave, and it had incredible electronic music and just mesmerizing effects, and it all came flying at you, and you would just get hypnotized by the experience. Lots of little in-jokes, lots of talks of yaks and other four-legged animals that Jeff Minter has always been a fan of. It's just got a great sense of fun and charm, and this just wonderful build-up. As you are getting better at the game, the music gets a little bit richer, and the sparkle effects and the particle effects within the game are just getting more dynamic and coming at you and just mesmerizing you. You're like, oh my God, this is incredible. I remember just spending hours and hours and hours cranking the tunes and getting fully lost in this. I managed to hang on to a CRT television set, and I've got my Jaguar and I've got my copy of Tempest 2000, and I wanted to hook everything up. This was the very first game that I tested out, and it's still incredible in 2019. Luckily, you don't have to have an Atari Jaguar to have this experience. You can get Tempest 4000, which Atari worked with Jeff Minter, even though they've had a little bit of an interesting relationship over the years. They worked out some of the stuff that they had between them, and they brought out Tempest 4000 last year for the PlayStation 4 and for the Xbox One, I believe, and I think you can get it for the PC, and I think there might be a VR thing cooking or coming soon. But Tempest 4000 is great. It's not as great, and mostly because I think I was expecting it to blow my mind like the original Tempest 2000, but it didn't feel as great and fill me with as much elation as playing that original Tempest 2000 game did. You Jaguar owners out there know what I'm talking about, though. It's amazing, and it's absolutely a buried treasure. Love Tempest 2000. Love Tempest, period. The classic. Tempest 2000, Tempest 4000, fantastic. We've got one more review for you, and we are unfortunately out of time with Let's Play and Chat today because the interview went a little bit longer and we've got to start closing down. But one more review for you, and it is about this baby right here, the P65. Let's take a look. So it wasn't that long ago that we interviewed MSI about their P65 Creator Series laptop, a beautiful white laptop that I was super impressed with when we met with representatives from MSI Canada. And at the time I said, you know what, I would love to review one of these things if you send it out to us. And you know what they did? They sent us out a laptop, and you've seen it on my desk as we've been doing EP Lives. It's been running graphics into our television sets. It's been running some of the gameplay footage. We've been playing games directly from it. And it's become a useful part of our production. And one of the great things about this P65 laptop is how light it is and how flexible it is. Very sleek, thin, light kind of profile. The one that they sent me is a white one. This one comes in around the $3,000 price point. And it's really not marketed to be a gaming laptop. They're really kind of positioning this thing to be a laptop for content creators, people that are working in Photoshop or working in the whole Adobe Creative Suite. Maybe they're cutting videos in Final Cut or something like that, or they're working in AutoCAD. I didn't really do any of that stuff. I used it almost purely as a gaming laptop because, quite frankly, if this thing can handle gaming and some serious gaming at some pretty serious outputs, it's going to be able to handle anything. So I put some pretty heavy games on this sucker. I put Devil May Cry 5 on it, ran it beautifully. We actually played it on EP Live through our television sets in front of a live audience, and everybody was super impressed with this. Took it on the road with me when I went to Mexico City recently, and I've been addicted, and I continue to be addicted to the Division 2, so I started a fresh install of the Division 2 on the road, and I have to be honest, it looks better on this laptop than it does on my Xbox One X at home. And I was missing it when I went back to the Xbox One X, and I've got a 4K TV set, and it's beautiful, and the HDR is all great, but I don't know, there's something about the way the lighting comes across the screen. I'm not getting a 4K resolution on this thing. It only goes out at 1080p, but it's a 144 hertz screen, so it just felt really, really slick and smooth, and the gradients on the lighting and everything just looked incredible. And I don't know, man, everything just seemed to move a little bit better and look a little tighter. That just blows my mind that a laptop, a gaming, well, it's a gaming-friendly laptop. It's a creator laptop. MSI, I know what you're trying to do there with the marketing on this thing, but it really does perform well as a gaming system. Of course, I threw a lot of indie titles at it. I love playing Broforce on this. I pretty much throw Broforce on any machine that I ever get. I even played Forza Motorsport 4, downloaded that, and it syncs up, obviously, with your Xbox save, so it had me right in the James Bond cars, and I was racing around. Looked incredible. But the real test for me was I wanted to see how it was going to handle VR. They told me it was a VR-ready machine. I said, okay, well, I've got the Oculus Rift. Let's throw that on. And I hooked up a sensor, and I played a little Lone Echo, and it ran beautifully. I played some Beat Saber. That was perfect. And I played some Brass Tactics, which is the real-time strategy game. Super cool game, by the way. You're actually moving around the table. But that's loud. But I tested out all of these VR experiences, and they handled great. This is an incredibly solid machine.
Is that your way of saying you're going to miss me?
It doesn't have super beefy hard drives on there. I had some SSDs on there. I think in total I had, less than a terabyte's worth of storage. So I was having to delete some of my games off of the internal storage. I mean, that's easily solved by just having a really solid external storage device that has all of your games or something like that on it. Yes, it would add a little bit of a, encumbrance to you, but if you wanted to pack a huge library of titles or a huge library of video files or something like that, just get a good external drive, you'd be fine. I didn't mind the weight of this device at all. It's about 4 pounds. I didn't dig where they put the power connector thing. It's sort of right in the middle of the laptop on the right-hand side of all of the inputs in there, and so it sort of gets in the way of the HDMI output, which I think is a little bit weird. It would have been much better plugged into the back. I think that would have been cool. The grading and the cooling systems on it seem to be really solid. It does get a little bit warm if it's running a game for a long time. I did notice that. The power bar will get a little bit warm as well. The brick is a little bit large that you plug the laptop into. There's no SD card slot, which I thought is a little silly, being that this is supposed to be a creator's laptop and presumably one that many photographers and videographers are going to be attracted to. But you know what? There's very little that I can quibble about here. This is one of the finest laptop testing experiences that I've had, and I've had many PC laptops over the years, some PC gaming laptops and things like that. I'm more of a Mac guy, so I'm not in the PC work ecosystem, but I have played tons and tons of games on PC, and honestly, this thing has been perfect for us. I think you are going to be very impressed, and you should absolutely look at the MSI P65 Creator Series laptop. You can bring that into work, and then you can play whatever game you throw at it, and you're going to have a great time. It's an excellent machine. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Yes, I'm a big fan of this laptop, and MSI, thank you for sending this out. I even love the little dragon logo. That's the one thing I didn't talk about here. It's got like gold trim and a little cool dragon logo on there. I know that they've made lots of great gaming laptops out there, but this was the one that really caught my eye, just because it's a stealth gaming laptop. But yeah, totally cool. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. We had a blast today with Tricia Gray, a fantastic guest, and I'm looking forward to finding out what she's up to next. And go to ourmachinery.com to find out more about her endeavors. But thank you all for being here. We are off for the next couple of days from EP Live, so we'll have a couple of rundowns for you, but we're back next week. James and Sam are going to be here talking about their game Venus and Mars on Monday. On Wednesday, we're going to have one of the lead animators on Toy Story 4, and on Thursday next week, we're not doing a Friday show next week, we're going to do a Thursday show. We've got Eric Jacobus, who does the performance capture for Kratos, and he's got a bunch of characters in Mortal Kombat 11. So that's going to be a lot of fun talking with all of those folks next week. But we've got new rundowns for you and likely some more reviews on the run for you, so stay tuned to the channel right here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember Remember, if you dig our stuff, hit subscribe and hit that like. And don't forget, we've got merch at epn.tv/merch. And this is all shot at 390 West Hastings in Vancouver, downtown. So if you've got time and you want to come and enjoy a live show, please come out for one of our EP lives. Thanks for watching, everybody. Play forever.